What is the worst date you've ever been on? Unbeknownst to me, I matched with a homeless fella on Tinder. When I went to pick him up, he was just kinda on the street, but I didn't really think much of it, just thought he was outside his residence. He told me we were going to someplace that he referred to with a very hipster-sounding name. I forget what he called it, but I was under the impression it was a coffee house. Nope. Abandoned warehouses beside the railroad tracks in a dark corner of town. He said he liked looking at the graffiti. I started freaking out because I legit thought I was about to be murdered. Why else would you take your Tinder date at midnight to pitch dark warehouses? So I said it was too cold to hang outside and suggested my house to watch a movie. I know, kinda dumb to lead him to my house, but I was panicking and not thinking straight, and I had a roommate who I knew could kick his ass if need be and had a gun, so that was my best solution to not raise alarm to what might have been my potential murderer. We get back to my house and dude immediately starts to raid my fridge and pantry, makes snarky comments about how I don't have enough organic/gluten-free foods, makes fun of our TV and blabs on about consumerism, then proceeds to plop himself down on my couch, non-organic foods in hand, and turns on the TV to find something he likes. I sat on the far opposite side of the couch and he chooses a JFK conspiracy documentary for us to watch. Then dude stands up and without any warning starts taking off his pants. Just as I was ready to scream for my roommate, I see that he has long johns underneath his pants and he tells me he was getting comfy. This is where it all fell into place for me. Dude is homeless. I decided to push on through the movie and let him enjoy his snacks and TV, that he made fun of originally, for a bit. Throughout the movie he inches closer and closer to me, until towards the end he's right beside me and he wraps his arm around me. The credits had come on just as he did so I immediately shrug off his arm and jump off the couch to the floor and start putting my shoes on. Trying to be pleasant as I can, I tell him it's late and time for me to drop him back off. He then asked, "Aren't you gonna kiss on me a bit?" To which I respond with a firm and somewhat harsh, "Absolutely not." We then drove back to a street corner in complete silence. Bye-bye homeless by choice, not by circumstance, dude. A year later he messaged me via text. We'd exchanged numbers while we were talking after matching on Tinder, but before our meetup, and told me he was becoming a massage therapist and wondered if he could practice on me. I never responded. What's the biggest way you failed when trying to flirt with someone? I met him at the gym, and I've been eyeballing him since he entered the place. He had an older, hairier, thick Italian Henry Cavill look to him that I couldn't keep my eyes off of. Once he finished his set and was resting, I couraged up, silently prayed to God, and went over to compliment him on his form. He smiled and thanked me, and we small talked on lifting stuff, and I'm too proud to admit that I just do squats for the ass. Then, sensing that he's comfy and hasn't rejected me yet, I made more eye contact and started lightly brushing his upper arm with my hand while complimenting his smile. The next thing I remember was a bunch of people on top of me just looking worried and one of the attendants was on her phone. Long story short, he punched me hard in the face, knocking me out for about 10 minutes. The paramedics came and checked me out, and my nose was definitely broken, and 2 teeth were knocked out from me hitting my face on a rack when I fell back. Suddenly he came to my side while they were putting me on the stretcher, and apologized profusely for hitting me. I had no reason to, but I apologized to him for misinterpreting his friendliness. Sometimes my gut feeling is off, but at least they're nice about it. Assuming it was fear of me pressing charges against him, he didn't leave my side the whole time they transported me to the hospital. He followed the ambulance, and waited in the lobby till he could talk to me. Cutting the story short, he's newly divorced from a woman of 6 years. He started frequenting our gym because he was trying to find male hookups, and I was the first one to talk to him like that since he joined. Not all used to it, his knee-jerk reaction was to smash my face in. 4 years later, we're married, and he hasn't hit me not even a second time ever since. But his ex-wife hates me for helping him and their children sin, though. What's your biggest fail when it comes to online dating? I went to go meet this girl for the first time and I go to pick her up. It's dark outside and I stop in front of her house. As I am waiting for her, this girl opens the back door of my car and sit in the back. Keep in mind it's dark outside, so I say hi and tell her it's nice to meet her and if she would like to sit up front. She's insisting she's okay in the back and we should start driving. I find this kinda strange that she wants to sit in the back as if I'm her driver. I keep insisting that she should sit at the front and it's strange that she wants to sit in the back. Again she says she's okay in the back and I should drive. At this point I figure ATL's she in my car and maybe she's shy because it's our first date. I start driving and I am having small talk like how was her day and I am glad she decided to meet me. She's giving me short answers and quiet for most part. We are approx 3 in our drive when I ask her if she's okay going to this restaurant I know. At this point, she goes, "I only called you because I need a ride. I am not here to date anyone." So I am really annoyed by now and I tell her I am not her driver and I only came to pick her up because we were gonna hang out and go eat something. Now she's also annoyed by now and tells me if I don't stop the car she will call the police and is ready to jump out of my car. I pull over and tell her she's crazy if she thinks I will drive her home when this was supposed to be a date. She tell me I don't date random Uber drivers. Long story short, the girl that sat in my car was a different girl as she mistook my car for an Uber that was supposed to pick her up. Thank God I had the dating app to show her. Imagine she starts screaming and calls 911 secretly and I get surrounded by the police. At least I had a great story to the when I went back to pick up the right girl. What is the most ridiculous way you've seen somebody fail a driving test? I had the privilege of taking my still horribly driving but not as bad anymore sister to her driving test for her license. We had one car for us kids, and I was driving it, so it fell on me to do this task that nobody wanted to do because nobody was very confident in her chances. Early on, it was obvious to everyone that she was firmly on the left side of the bell curve, if you know what I mean. So my girlfriend and I drove her to the DMV, trying to give her some last-minute pointers along the way. Being her normal, 16-year-old self, she basically told us to shut up and that she didn't need any help, and for us to start getting used to the idea of having the car much less often now. Great stuff. Anyway, as it turned out, we may have forgotten a couple of pretty important last-minute tips. We waited at the DMV for what seems like hours with an anxious, moody 16-year-old, and finally it was her turn. She was visibly overcome with excitement, but sweetly stopped in her frenzy to give me a big hug and kiss, thanking me for bringing her. Oh Gina, if you only knew in that touching moment that it was already too late for you. So she went and met her instructor, and my girlfriend and I saw them off to the reliable old Buick Skylark station wagon which had gotten me through this same anxious moment only 2 years earlier. Godspeed, sister. We watched them get in the car from the perspective of in front of the car, so we could see their faces when they were sitting in their seats. The instructor started talking to my sister, who should have been putting on her seatbelt, checking her mirrors, etc. Instead, in the middle of the woman's sentence, my sister immediately starts the car, throws it in reverse, and backs out of the spot. The instructor was visibly startled by the abruptness of the move. In this position out of the parking spot and now perpendicular to it, my sister patiently puts on her seatbelt and checks her mirrors, as the instructor regains her wits and continues talking. So now they pull off, moving a bit herky-jerky to the stop sign at the end of the parking lot. And promptly run the stop sign out into traffic. She barely slowed down as she took the right. Now they are gone, and my girlfriend and I look at each other knowing it's already over. We are still standing at the door kinda laughing about how we couldn't believe what we just saw, as bad a driver as we all knew she was, nobody expected that, and joking about how the instructor was going to quit when they got back. Just as we begin to go back inside, here comes the old Skylark already tearing back into the parking lot. Please realize, this is immediately after they left. It couldn't have been more than a minute or two after they pulled onto the main road. My sister whips the Skylark through the parking lot, screeching to a stop at a diagonal, 80% in one parking spot and 20% in another, right in front of the glass door where we are still standing. There is a look of seething anger on my sister's face as she slams it in park. It had the gear shift on the steering wheel, so this action was very demonstrative. Shuts the car off, opens the door, and walks right past us into the building, leaving the instructor still buckled in the passenger seat. What the F? The instructor gathers herself and her paperwork, takes off her seat belt, and gets out of the car. She walks up to us, and completely no-sells whatever just happened. She just says, "Unfortunately, your sister did not pass her driving test today. She can try again in 6 months," and writes whatever that date was on the back of her permit with a black Sharpie and initials it. She thanked us and went and got her next driving test. Those people have seen some shit, man. As it turns out, not only did my sister act like a complete whack job in the parking lot and then run the stop sign to leave said parking lot, she also missed the part where the instructor told her to take a right at the first four-way stop after leaving. That's what the instructor was starting to say when my sister began what looked like a kidnapping. So after she missed the turn and the instructor reminded her that she was supposed to turn right there, my sister apologized, and used the next four-way stop to do a U-turn and go back. You know the move, the big, wide, circular U-turn. We've all done it, but this was her driving test. So after she pulled the fourth of 4 completely brainless moves within the first minute of her driving test, the instructor told her not to bother making the, now, left, and to just go back to the DMV because she was clearly nowhere near ready for her license. What gets more messed up the longer you think about it? The whole idea of what life should be like, at least in middle-class America. As a young person, you pretty much have to go to college after high school if you want a decent paying, secure job. Of course if you go into a trade it's a different story, but stay with me here. So you have to go to college if you want a good job. But, oh shit, you weren't a stellar student in high school, so no scholarship for you. Your parents are good, hard-working people and they make just the right amount so that you don't get much in the way of help from them, but you also can't qualify for grants or hardship scholarships. So, you are forced to take out tens of thousands of dollars in loans to pay for the school that you have to attend. You graduated, hooray. You're not exactly happy with the career you'll have to enter, but hey, you'll make good money and have job security. And congrats, you married the girlfriend you met in college. Now it's time to buy a house. The market in your area isn't great, but you find a pretty nice house that you can afford on a 30-year mortgage. Between the house and the new cars you bought to reliably get you and the wife to work, there isn't much cash left over to go on vacation. Oh well. Priorities, right? Things are good for a few years and you finally have a little security in the bank. But now it's time for kids. You have to, because you only want to replace your wife and yourself, you're responsible people. Only now there are 2 tiny people that are reliant on you for literally everything. But that's okay, you'll take the financial strain and the stress because you love them. Fast forward a few years. Your life has become a cycle. You go to the job that you now resent, so you can pay off the loans that you had to take out for college. Your income also goes to paying for the house that's now just a little too small. Your car payments are still coming because you have to upgrade for the kids' safety. Every hour at work is spent in an effort to pay bills that keep you firmly rooted in the decisions you made 10 years ago. Oh sure, you go on vacation. To Disney World, or to visit grandma halfway across the country. You'll definitely go to Europe when the kids are out of the house. You've only had sex once in 3 years, but you're living the American dream. Rinse and repeat. Go to work, pay your bills, and support your family. Keep telling yourself it'll get better. Eventually you learn to just appreciate the little things because life isn't nearly as exciting as you'd once hoped. But you keep doing what you're supposed to do until you're old enough to go to a nursing home. Your kids visit every once in a while, but they're very busy digging themselves out of the same ever-deepening hole that you have been in since you were 18. Eventually, death becomes your only relief, and you welcome it. F that.